Good evening. My name is Chuck Jones. I'm the chairman of the Government Affairs Committee for the Dahlonega-Lumpkin County Chamber of Commerce. First, I want to thank all of the candidates for coming out and everybody that's interested in this race and all their families that supported them, so thank you very much. We're going to start with the City Council Position 3 with Tammi Scales and Ryan Reagin. They'll have 2-minute opening statements. Ryan won the pick of the number, so Ryan, you get to start.
Okay. Well, some of you may know me, so I don't want to repeat myself, but for those that don't, my name is Ryan Reagin. I moved to Lumpkin County when I was 11 years old from Gwinnett County. I've been here ever since. I moved to the city limits when I was 17 years old to start in North Georgia. I'm a graduate of Lumpkin County High School. I attended business school at North Georgia. In 2009, when I was finishing up at North Georgia, I got a job with the United States Postal Service as a city carrier in downtown Dahlonega. I've been a city carrier ever since, almost 13 years now. I do real estate at Walden & Company Realty in Dahlonega, Georgia since 2017. I'm basically here because I want to make sure Dahlonega reaches its fullest and best potential. Everyone knows the city's charming, everyone knows the city's character, but there's always something to work on. Even if you're a Super Bowl winning team, every coach always says we got to get to work tomorrow. So I'm not here to beat up past administrations, city councils, or mayors. I just want to add to Dahlonaga's greatness and everything else we can work on to reach our full potential.
Thank you very much. Tammi?
I'm Tammi Scales. I'm originally from Florida. Been here for 12 years. I have a bachelor's in sociology, and I'm a medical assistant, and I currently work at Progenics Laboratory. And I basically am very passionate about this town. I've been on the Connectability Board and the CASA Board and the Holly Theater Board, and I volunteered at CHP. I'm very passionate. I just want to throw myself into this. I want to learn. I want to figure it out. If I don't have the answers, then I'm going to try to find them. And I did want to say, though, I really respect the fact that Ryan has been such a gentleman through this whole thing.
Appreciate you.
And it's because at first I was like, oh, God, but he turned out to be great. And I was like, you know, I really don't want to do this whole debate thing. But then my husband says, why? You debate me every night. So anyway, so that's all I need to say.
All right, thank you, Tammi. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to ask each one of you the same question. And this one I'm going to give it to Tammi first. So to prepare for serving in office and to learn about the council operations, please specify how many city council meetings you have attended in the last 3 months.
In the last 3 months, I've attended 5 city council meetings and 1 county commissioner meeting. And honestly, the way I prepared is that I went to several city council members and I asked questions, and I had quite a few lunches, and some I paid for. Okay. And I basically, and I went to some county commissioners also, and I've emailed questions, and everyone has been so good to me about giving me answers and helping me. And I basically had to go online, and I had to read and read and read, and there's still a lot of things well, there's a lot I was not aware of that the city even did, and I have a whole new picture of that. And the other thing is that there's still things that I need to know and need to learn, but I'm willing to throw myself in there and learn. I'm willing to read.
Thank you. Ryan?
Well, I'll be honest, I don't know the exact number of the last 3 months. I have been going regularly this whole entire year to try to prep myself. I was involved with the DDA as a voting member for this calendar year until I had to step down per the ordinance to run for this position. This last month, 6 weeks, I went to an HPC meeting. I did go to a work session. I went to a city council meeting, and I did, even though I stepped down this past Thursday, they meet once a month, the DDA, and I did attend that as well just to try to, even though we're campaigning, and she can tell you it's a lot more busy than I would imagine before I started. I don't know how people do it at the state level. I don't know. But I want to stay in the mix, like she's saying, try to talk to as many people as possible. I'm lucky enough to be a strong relationship builder. I've always been that kid in the room. My teachers growing up said he's a social butterfly. You know, I make friends. I try to see the best in people. So I do have a lot of strong relationships in the community with business owners, merchants, being lucky enough to working in the downtown area every day, mostly 6 days a week, and living one block off the square. I have that access to build those personal relationships. And so I know we're talking about city council meetings, but I do a lot more than that as well to try to get to know my neighbor.
Thank you very much. So this is a question to you again. So what talents and skills do you have that will make you an effective leader for our community as a council member? What are the qualifications that distinguish you from your opponents, and why are they irrelevant?
Well, I think I've already touched on this a little bit. Like I said, I do build real strong relationships. I have many friends that now are considered family that since I've lived here when I was 11 years old. I would say me being on the private side as a realtor, I've learned a lot of the business side of real estate, so that has many different aspects to real world experience. I also have worked for the federal government, so that gives me a lot of experience seeing how you run an organization that has 40, 50 people from the top down just in this post office, which most people would consider small, but if you open up the back, it's pretty big. I would say those are my strong suits. I'm a hard worker. I'm a team player. If you come up to me and have some kind of ideas, or if you have some kind of concerns, I'm not gonna take it the wrong way. I'm gonna look you in the eye. I'm gonna smile. I try to wave at people. I feel like you get the most out of people with honey, as they say, not vinegar. So you're never gonna hear me being disparaging. I'm a team builder.
All right, thank you. Tammi, so what talents and skills do you have that will make an effective leader for our community as a city council member? What are the qualifications that distinguish you from your opponent, and why are they relevant?
I basically feel like that because of the 501Cs that I've been involved in, because like, I'll give you an example that CHP, I was a volunteer there for 7 years, knew nothing about CHP, and I threw myself into it and learned the ins and the outs and felt real good about it. I feel like I've got some strong connections and some strong ties. And I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty. At the Holly Theater, on that board, it wasn't all glamorous. Trust me, I was behind the scenes cleaning stages and stuff. But I'll just throw 110% in.
Okay, thank you. And Tammi, I'm gonna let you start this one off.
Great.
So what are your goals for the city, and what changes do you want to make for the betterment of the community?
The changes for the betterment, of course, is the stands that I feel like that people, the platforms that they take. And one of mine, of course, is the infrastructure that, it's not a pretty thing to do, but it's a must, and I feel like that's going to be the greatest task for the city. I want to keep that quaint feel. I want people to come here, and better yet, I want people to keep coming back. I think that we know that growth is coming, and we've got to figure out how to keep it minimized, that we can get revenues from it, but at the same time, we don't want to turn into, Dawsonville where they're growing the way they are. What was the first part? That was the betterment.
What are your goals for the city, and then what are the changes you want to make for the
Okay, so I
betterment?
said the changes. So the goals, I would like to see something happen more on the parking part. And when I say the goals of that, because I know, like, I have a lot of family members that will come, and the first thing they say is, oh, God, I want to go to town, but there's nowhere to park. And so I want to see some goals. Either I want UNG to say, yes, everyone has access, which I know they have, but a lot of people don't know that. So somehow we have to get that word out, or we need to add some additional parking somewhere. That's one of the main goals that I have in mind right now.
Ryan?
Yeah, just to go ahead and follow up with that parking, I believe I'm guilty of it, just as I'm sure everyone else in the audience is. We say we have a parking problem, and we do to a certain degree, but and this is not my saying, but we have a parking in the front door problem. Everyone wants to circle around the square 3 times. When I was on the DDA, there's signs that have been ordered that's supposed to be directing people to the North Georgia parking decks. We're lucky enough to have a great partnership with them, and there's a lot of parking spots on their multiple parking decks. I do believe that there's a few locations. I've seen the UGA had a lady that was doing a master program, and for her master's, she came up with some renderings in different locations around downtown Dahlonega that could have been used or could be used still today for future parking decks. It just depends which route we want to go. I would say what was the first part again?
Troy, your goals for the
Yes,
city?
my goals for the city. I want to cut the red tape as much as possible for the local businesses, especially during a pandemic. I know there's tough decisions to be made with city council and mayors. It's not an easy job. You got to dig in. And I'm not pointing fingers once again, but I do believe it's hard to look at a business in the face and say, hey, we're in the middle of a pandemic. We need $40 more for your trash fee. I don't know if that was good timing.
All right, thank you very much. Ryan, this will be for you. So if you had to look out 10, 15, or 20 years from now, what would your vision be for Dahlonega and Lumpkin County?
Well, that's a tough question. I would say I've been here since 1998, so almost 20-something years here. And I've always said it because I moved from Gwinnett County, and I would tell my friends, even at a young age, 8th grade, 9th grade, they'd complain about how small this town was, because when you're a little kid, teenager, you always want something bigger and better. And I would say, guys, my grandparents lived in Roswell. We lived in Gwinnett County, and when my mom went to high school in Roswell, Georgia, it was not what it is today, and that's coming this way, and we have to be smart. So I would say our goals would be sustainable and smart development and growth, and we need to allow as much green space as possible, which there are a lot of ordinances right now, to make sure that it doesn't look like cookie cutter Dawsonville. I have a lot of good friends that live in Dawson County, but if Dahlonega ever turned into Dawson 400, I would puke.
All right, thank you very much. Tammi, what is your vision for the next 10, 15, or 20 years for Dahlonega and Lumpkin County?
Growth and at the same time preservation. Of course I want growth and revenue to come to the city, but at the same time, like I said a while ago, I want that quaintness to stay. I want us to keep the small town feel. That's why people come here. That's why they want to move here.
Okay, thank you. This will be to you first and then to Ryan. So are you in favor of decreasing the size of city council or creating city council posts that are representing specific districts?
I was actually talking about that today, and I don't want to decrease it. I think the more opinions, the more ideas, the better. And so I don't want to see it decrease.
And do you want to have specific districts represented by each post?
I don't feel like that's really important.
Okay. Ryan?
I don't think it is a good idea to lessen representation. I do believe usually more representation is usually better. It's not like it's a financial burden on the city. There is a little bit of money that the city council members make, but it's very small. It's pretty much, in my opinion, a community service. So that's not a financial burden. If it was a financial burden, I would say maybe go down to 4, maybe go down to 5. I do think the districts could be potentially a great experiment or even a great possibility, because as I go through downtown Dahlonega, I've been fortunate enough to work in every neighborhood, essentially. And people, about the districting, there's a lot of folks that say, well, look now, we don't even have that many people that's came out and run this time. But I do believe it's because some people are intimidated by certain neighborhoods with a lot of power, and I do believe if you sliced up downtown where you had certain neighborhoods all could have a member, it would be a better voice of the community as a whole if you had the 6 neighborhoods, because I've thought about it in my head. There's about 6 5 to 6 big neighborhoods if you break it up like that in the districts. And I do believe you could get one person from each district to represent the community, and I do believe it wouldn't be so intimidating for a normal person. I consider myself a normal person. I've never been in government, so I feel like that would take some of the intimidation factor down, and then there would be more involvement.
Okay, thank you very much. And Ryan, this is going to be for you. So tourism plays an important economic role in our community, and we want to protect the sanctity of our neighborhoods. But how do we protect our neighborhoods and still encourage tourism to utilize short-term rentals without banning them outright?
I'm a big proponent for, I'm pro-business, but also I believe your home is your sanctuary. It's a fine line, and it's not an easy job, but I do believe in owners' property rights, and as long as you're being a good neighbor and you're not a nuisance, I'm okay with short-term rentals. But there's a time and a place, specifically a place, in a retirement community, in a 55 and up, like just recently the Summit, that was a no-brainer. Those ladies and gentlemen came in here, they were all elderly, they were 100% against it. I didn't hear at those meetings one resident say, man, I wish I could Airbnb my property. They were all scared to death. So there's a place for it. But I do believe if you're out in the country, you have maybe 5 acres, you have a tree house, there's popular cabins like that are being built now, or if you have a cabin on the river that's private, as long as you're being a good neighbor, and what's even better is some people don't like HOAs because they get this bad, well, if I move in an HOA, they're going to tell me what to do. But the good thing about an HOA in some of these properties, neighborhoods like the Summit, is I think we don't need to, as a government, tell them what to do. But if the HOA of certain communities want to have short-term rentals, that's up to them. That's their right as property owners, I believe.
Thank you. Tammy?
That was very good.
Thank you. I got in the zone.
To kind of go forward with what Ryan was saying, that meeting was very interesting, and those people, their appeal, I mean, I felt like, I know, it really was. And then I thought, I don't want short-term rentals in my own neighborhood. So, but I also feel like there's places that can be designated for that. We do want short-term rentals as far as we want people to come, and if they want to stay a week or 2 weeks or whatever, but I do believe it has to be designated in certain areas. Neighborhoods is, that's not the place for it.
Okay, thank you very much. So Tammy, this one will be to you. In what areas do you see the City Council and the Board of Commissioners working jointly to improve life for the citizens of the city and county? And what are some areas of collaboration that you think are possible?
I think there's a lot, there should be a lot more collaboration than what there is right now, and I don't see a problem with why that won't. I think there'll be a lot more of it. I think it's going to be a good thing, especially with the hospital coming, 400. I know they've got ideas and things going on now, but the city and the county, there's always ways that we can work together, and I think that's the biggest one.
Okay, thank you. Ryan?
Yes, sir. I know people look at me, I have a little bit of a young-looking face. I am in my mid-30s, but I would try to work with these folks as best as possible. I do believe at the end of 400, I've heard some county folks, some city folks discuss this matter, that when the hospital is built, there needs to be really serious discussion and thought about annexing that part of Lumpkin County into the city. That would help put the volume of utilities, water and sewer up at a higher level, which would hopefully, with the tap fees and things of that nature that all that development is going to incur, that would lower the cost for the average resident. I believe that's a good idea, but at the end of the day, we're all Lumpkin County residents. I'm not just, I pay Lumpkin County taxes just like I pay Dahlonega taxes. The people that live out in Lumpkin County, they come to Dahlonega. Everyone's kids go to the same high school. I mean, it's ridiculous that grown adults can't get along, so I hope that we could work on that.
All right, thank you. Ryan, this will be to you to start, and then I'll go to Tammy. The purchase price and renovation of the head house will exceed $1 million. Is this an acceptable use of the city taxpayers' dollars? Is this a project that our local government should undertake, or should it be done in the private sector?
Well, that's a tough question, so I'm glad you asked, I guess. No, not at all. I've researched some of this because I was on the DDA board when some of this was coming down the pipeline. A lot of it was before I had entered. You know, government does move slowly, which that is the first lesson I learned by being on the DDA. I like to go, let's get it done. But you do have to cross the T's and dot the I's. So I have seen other communities in Georgia in their DDA programs renovating old buildings, abandoned buildings, and revitalizing sections of the community, because part of me wants to say, well, that needs to be a business, you know, private business. That the government needs to stay out of that. But sometimes when you have a struggling structure, somebody needs to step in, and sometimes it doesn't make sense financially. But I've been told a few different things on this, so it just depends what we're going to do with the building. If it was me, I would have tried to do a lot of fundraising, maybe some galas. We have a lot of giving people in this community. I would have tried to raise as much money that way before I went and spent city tax dollars, but that boat's already sailed. So what I would do is, you know, the revenue doesn't match. We're going to be in the negative. That's just the way it's going to go with the retail space. I'm a realtor. I've looked into it. I've talked to other realtors. It doesn't make sense like that. But I've been told by some people that they think we'll sell it immediately because it's going to be such a value. Well, I don't know if that's going to work. Real estate has gone up at the highest pace in history the last 20 years. So or since the crash. I don't know if that's going to be sustainable. But I also don't have a crystal ball. But I've also been told that we're going to hold it for 50 years. And if we do hold the building for 50 years, and it does serve the community for that length of time, then it could be rationalized spending that kind of money. So it just depends which direction we go, and if I win city council, it's going to be some tough decisions to be made.
Thank you. Tammi?
It is a loaded question. While I am for historic preservation, I understand why the decision was made. I just honestly want to say I'm glad I wasn't the one making the decision. But now that it has been made, it's bottom line, we're going to have to find ways to get it where it needs to be, and hopefully it can generate some sort of income.
Okay. Given our time, what I'm going to do now is, Tammi, I'd like to give you 2 minutes to do a closing statement, and then we'll go to Ryan.
When I first moved here, I thought, you know what, I want to get vested in this community. And I thought, you know what, the best way to do this is go to the 501Cs. And I was on the Holly board for 6 years, and it was during the time of it was up and it was down and it was back up, but I didn't know anything about theater, and I not only have learned the ins and the outs, but I've gotten on the stage myself quite a few times. I also was the same way about connectability. I was on that board for 3 years. I didn't realize what services they offered, so I felt good about that. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that there were a lot of things I didn't know about any of this stuff, and when I threw myself into it and I learned the ins and the outs, that's basically what I want to do with city council. I'm passionate about this town. I'm passionate about this city. I do want to learn. I do want to get more involved with it. And one way or the other, however it comes out, I'll still be involved because of this. But I was a probation and parole officer at one time, and I was a substance abuse counselor at one time. And I think it's a way of getting to know people. It's a way that I'm an Army brat, so I can meet a stranger at any time, trust me. So I just feel like my personality, I think I'd be a good fit.
Thank you. Ryan?
Yes, sir. In closing, I'd just like to say, I think I skipped over these questions in 2 minutes. It could be a little tough sometimes. But I believe the city does a lot of good work. And I believe there's a couple of things. Well, there's always things we could do, but a couple of things that I wanted to highlight right now is there needs to be more transparency. I believe that we need to keep the city council seats at 6 for more representation. Seems to be better to me, especially at this low financial cost to the city government. I do believe that We should live broadcast and record and upload these meetings with the technology that we have today. This needs to be, we have a great website. The DahlongaGovernment.com is great, but we need to upload as many of these meetings as possible so people can review it. People have families, people have serious work schedules. They don't have the time to come to a DDA meeting at 8 o'clock in the morning, 8:45. They don't have time maybe to come to a city council meeting at 4 p.m. in the afternoon on a Monday or whatnot. There's a lot of meetings, and I think that could be useful. My ultimate goal would be to preserve the charm and character of Dahlonega. Like I've said before, I am a relationship builder. I've been lucky enough to meet my best friends here. This community has been extremely good to me over the years, and I look at this as the opportunity to give back to the community. People have said, why are you going to get in politics? I would never think of you to be the person to get in politics. And I tell everyone, I don't look at it like that. I look at it as community service. I believe, and this is me being selfish because I like music, but I would like, there's the first Friday night series we have once a month, during the summer months, and that is a very small budget. It's $5,000, which $5,000 is a lot of money, but not in the grand schemes of a city budget. I'd like to see that maybe every 2 weeks. We have a lot of local artists. I know Spirits, and they pay a 4-piece band $300. And the community, you see your neighbors out there, you see the kids playing at Hancock Park at the all accessibilities. There's a lot of community that comes from that.
I want to thank Tammi and Ryan for sharing with us tonight and getting us kicked off. So thank you very much, and thank you for your willingness to serve.